Welcome to the Math for Liberal Arts tutorial. I am Mr. Neely, and we are going to talk about sound arguments. So to start off with, consider these two arguments from the last tutorial. Both arguments we learned last time were valid arguments, okay? But even though they're both valid, the first argument is a really good argument, and you would read it and you would agree and think it was a great argument. But the second argument is not such a good argument. Okay? The premises of the argument are just nonsense. All fig trees are fish. I am a fig tree. That doesn't make any sense. And certainly the conclusion is false. I am certainly not a fish. So it seems like a really bad argument. So on one level, they're both valid arguments. In fact, we learned they were both the same type of argument. They had the same logical structure. Okay, but the first argument is a sound argument. The second argument, however, is not a sound argument. So to be a sound argument, you must first be valid. You have to be a valid argument, but also you have to have true premises. So a sound argument is a valid argument that has true premises. And if you are a sound argument, then the conclusion will also be true. It'll follow necessarily from the fact that the argument was both valid and the premises were both true. Okay? And then you get an argument that also has a true conclusion. But notice I don't base the soundness of my argument on the conclusion. In other words, you can have valid arguments that have a true conclusion but still not be sound because one of the premises are false. Okay? So whenever we analyze arguments, we first look to see if it's valid, and then if it is, then we look to see if the premises are true. If both of those hold, then it's a sound argument. So here's an example. All U.S. presidents have been men. Hillary Clinton is not a man. Therefore, Hillary Clinton has not been a U.S. president. Is this a sound argument? So to analyze the argument, I first draw an Euler diagram to decide whether or not it's valid. Okay, so let's let this circle represent all men, and a smaller circle inside there will represent all U.S. presidents. So this is the first statement here, that all U.S. presidents are men. Okay? Hillary Clinton is not a man. That's what the second premise says. And that would mean that Hillary Clinton would have to be outside of the men circle. Just like that. So from that, I would conclude that Hillary Clinton has not been a U.S. president. Because if she's outside the men's circle, there's no way she can be inside the president's circle. So, as we learned last time, this would be a valid argument. So, is it a sound argument? Well, to decide that, I'm going to look at the premises of the argument. All U.S. presidents have been men. That is true. And Hillary Clinton is not a man. So, assuming that we're talking about the Hillary Clinton who was the first lady years back, this is also true. So both premises are true. So this is also a sound argument. And what that means is that the conclusion necessarily follows and will be true. So any sound argument has a true conclusion. And this is a sound argument. And indeed, the conclusion of this argument is true. Well, let's look at another argument here. It says all U.S. presidents have been men. Bill Clinton is a man. Therefore, Bill Clinton has been a U.S. president. Okay, well, we first check to see whether or not the argument is valid. So here's the circle of all men. There's the circle of all presidents. Now, the second premise just says that Bill Clinton is a man. And all that means is that Bill Clinton, whoever he is inside the men's circle. So this would be Bill Clinton right here. But it does not necessarily follow that he has to be inside the president's circle. Not from these two premises, anyway. So this is actually invalid. So we don't even have a valid argument. So because of that, it's not sound. I'm not even looking at the truth of the premises. If it's not a valid argument, then it's not sound. And so on to the next argument. Okay, this last argument says all dolphins are fish. And then it says all fish are vertebrates. Therefore, all dolphins are vertebrates. So looking at this argument here, all dolphins are fish means we got a big circle that represent all the fish, and then the dolphins are inside the fish circle. Now, secondly, it says all fish are vertebrates. So what it means is that there has to be a big circle that contains the fish circle. So this one's a little tricky, but I need to do, this is vertebrates. So this should be a V. So I need a big circle around everything, which is the vertebrate circle. So from this, the conclusion does follow, because if you're inside the dolphin circle, then you're also inside the vertebrate circle. So this is a valid argument. Now, is it a sound argument? Well, if you look at the first premises, all dolphins are fish, that's actually false, because dolphins are mammals. They're not fish. The second premises is true, but since the first premises is false, this is not sound. It is not a sound argument. Now notice, even though this is a valid argument, and even though this conclusion happens to be true, it's still not a sound argument. Okay? So you can have a valid argument with a true conclusion that's not sound, because one of the premises here are false. So a sound argument is based on whether or not it's valid and whether or not all the premises of the argument are true. And if it's valid and the premises are true, then the conclusion will also be true.